When was the last time you paused to really take in how far you've come? Welcome to the People Teaching People podcast. I'm so glad that you are here. This episode is about celebrating the journey, yours, mine, and the learning that unfolds along the way. I often catch myself crossing something off my to-do list and jumping straight to the next thing. And while that momentum can be helpful, it can also mean we don't take time to reflect on how far we've come or the people and experiences that helped us grow. The other day, as I was sitting in my office, I picked up a book that's been with me for 5 years now. You've Got This Boss Mama, A Mother's Guide to Embracing Growth and Living an Aligned Life. It was released in the spring of 2020, and I'm proud to be one of its co-authors. Holding that book in my hands brought up so much reflection, not just on the chapter I wrote, but on the connections, opportunities, and growth that came from being part of this collaborative project, led by Sabrina Greer and featuring 18 co-authors. Through the book, I had the chance to connect with some incredible women. Dina Otoni Batistessa is the co-founder and co-owner of Academy Preschool here in Calgary. She also shares inspiration and insights through her platform, Move, Play, Mom. Dina and I connected in real life, and she has been a guest on this podcast. Jillian Sawyer is a chiropractor who works primarily with moms and children. We also got the chance to meet in person, and she's joined me as a guest on my podcast. Again, it's so fantastic that our first connection is through this collaborative book. Shannon Christensen, who has been a podcast guest as well, is someone I've developed a meaningful friendship with. She's the incredible founder and chief vision officer of Mamas for Mamas, a national registered nonprofit organization dedicated to reducing the negative impact of poverty on low-income mothers and their families across Canada. Through the book, Monica Hugh and I connected in real life and went on to co-lead an in-person workshop together called Take Back Your Time, Mama. And that collaboration is a beautiful example of how shared stories can really lead to deeper impact. And Sabrina Greer, who is now the founder of FemPower Publications Incorporated, is the one who brought all of us together. And she's really played such a special role in my journey. She helped me create my first website. She welcomed me into her mastermind program. She encouraged me and guided me as I got started in podcasting. And she was one of my very first podcast guests. I also had the privilege of supporting her in the creation of her online course. These connections led to more connections, more learning, more growth. I also want to acknowledge 3 people whose impact I talk about in my chapter: Tim Stensland, Natasha Heron, and Jill Drader. And while I didn't name them directly in the book, their support and influence were deeply felt, and they're a big part of the story that I share. Now, I've moved on from the part-time jungle chapter of my work, but it was such an important stepping stone. It helped me grow into the educator I am today and played a big role in showing me the broader possibilities of working within the education ecosystem. So today I'm going to share my chapter from You've Got This Boss Mama. It's a chance to look back, to reflect on the moments and people that shape this part of my journey, and to recognize the learning that's happened along the way. So let's dive in. Life is too short and time is too precious to be living the life that others think we should lead. Thank you to Jason, my amazing husband and dad to our 3 kiddos, who has patiently supported me in my journey of swinging motherhood and work. Thank you to Rylan, Easton, and Carter for the gift of being your mom. I learn from each of you every day. Thank you to my amazing village of friends and family for all the love, encouragement, and fun. Without question, I am a better mom because of you. The Part-Time Jungle by Tiana Fech. There isn't one right way to be a woman. There isn't only one right way to be a daughter, friend, boss, wife, mother, or whatever else you categorize yourself as. There are so many different versions of each and every style on this planet, and beauty lives in that dichotomy. Rachel Hollis from the book, Girl, Wash Your Face. There are so many ways to lean into the jungle of swinging motherhood and work. Typically, the two ends of the spectrum are staying at home full-time or working full-time, but even these options can be approached in a multitude of ways. Then there are all the shades of green in between. There isn't one way, there isn't a right way. Perhaps you had an idea of what this life would look like for you before you became a mom. Maybe this idea changed when you became one. Or maybe you have experienced judgment or unsolicited feedback about what is best for your family, for you, and for your kids. Stay-at-home moms sure have it nice, hanging out at the gym in their Lululemon outfits. Why would you let someone else raise your kids while you're at work? They are only little for so long. So you just teach part-time? What else do you do? I have definitely experienced, overheard, and witnessed all of the above. Judgment is so unnecessary and counterproductive to our well-being, emotionally, mentally, physically. Who are we to decide what is best for someone else? Every journey is unique. Each experience, though similar from a bird's eye view, when examined closely, unfolds differently for every single woman, every single family. Who are we to impose our views, our limitations, our journey onto someone else? How can we hold space and empower each other without wanting each other to conform to our ideals and norms? To me, empowerment comes from being able to lean into the ever-changing journey and adventure of being a mom in a way that works best for you and your family. I have been juggling part-time work for 12 years, ever since my first maternity leave ended. I have learned that it is hard to find meaningful, soul-filling part-time work that aligns with my skills and experience and fits with our family life. Only one of the positions that I have found has been posted on a job website. Every other part-time job I've ever had, I've found through personal connections and networking, being inspired by the part-time work success stories of other moms, telling anyone who would listen about what my ideal job would be, and truly through a whole lot of hustle. The challenge of my part-time work journey has led me to really question why it should be so difficult to try and start a conversation on this topic, and to build a community of moms who work or who want to work part-time more flexibly, or just in a way that is more aligned for them and for their families. I feel that a reframing of positions from traditional Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 jobs to ones that are more flexible and better suited to work-family balance is needed. I also feel that employers need to shift their perspective and view to see moms who want to work part-time as being an incredible asset instead of a limitation and obstacle to productivity. So, what propelled my journey into part-time work? I always wanted to be married, to be a mom of 3 kids, and to be a teacher. And I never really thought about how the roles of being a mom and a teacher would work together for me. I became a teacher. It was all-consuming and overwhelming, but I loved working with my junior high and later high school students and sharing my passion for science with them. I got married to an incredible guy, and shortly before our first anniversary, our first of 3 boys was born. The panic of returning to work and trying to juggle that with being a mom sunk in quickly. Motherhood is truly a jungle. There are twists and turns, unexpected roadblocks and obstacles, light and shadows, beautiful and awe-inspiring views, and many crazy, wonderful adventures along the way. I met moms who seemed so clear on their plans to stay home or to return to work full-time. I just didn't have the clarity of my path through the jungle in my mind or heart. I cried about going back to teaching, but at the same time knew that I had worked so hard to achieve that dream, and giving it up seemed unthinkable. I didn't want to have to choose between both my dreams, being a mom and being an educator. I realized that I would have to break trail and step outside the boxes of one extreme or the other. Part-time work seemed to be the perfect compromise. Working part-time started with a job share teaching high school. It was incredibly lucky that one of my work colleagues, who also happened to be a close friend, gave birth to her son the day before our first child was born. She and I were actually in the same hospital at the same time as each other. Halfway through our maternity leaves, we drafted a detailed proposal and convinced our school principal that we should share a position when we returned to work. We would each teach half the day, and while one of us was teaching, the other would look after the two boys. This schedule alleviated a great deal of worry and anxiety for me, as someone who I knew and had a close relationship with would be looking after our little guy. Have you ever been in a position where everything works according to plan and sounds perfect when you talk about it, yet something just doesn't feel right? Logistically, our arrangement was amazing, but truly it was one of the loneliest years of my life. I realized just how much I needed to be around people. I had minimal interaction with other adults during my time at work because I would teach and then hustle back to take care of the boys. I had minimal interaction with adults while at home because one or both boys would be napping, and in general, our window of time to get out into the world was small. Most of my grading and lesson planning had to be done late in the evening, which made it hard to connect with friends and loved ones socially. I got pregnant that year, and after my second maternity leave with our second son, I decided to fulfill my dream of getting my master's degree. I loved going back to school. My classes took place every second weekend at a local school and were a fantastic opportunity to learn and to spend time with other adults. The interactions, the connections, the knowledge that was shared, my mind and soul soaked up every bit of it. It was just what I needed. Having something that was just for me helped me to be more patient with our two little boys and gave me something to talk about other than being a mom. I found a mom of one little boy to look after our two boys once a week in our home so I could have an uninterrupted schoolwork day at the library. She was amazing, and having this big window of time helped me to manage my juggle. So if you are feeling guilty or as though you're not enough, I want you to know that it is okay to ask for help and to build in those windows of time for yourself and your hopes and dreams. Having this one day each week made all the difference in my well-being, my stress level, and ultimately made things better for our whole family. Toward the end of my 2-year program, our third little boy was born. This timing meant finishing my final project, presenting it, and attending my convocation along with my husband and our newborn. Our baby's passport, with his 10-day-old photo with open eyes and a neutral expression, arrived the day before we left. My parents looked after our 4-year-old and 2-year-old while we were away. My husband held our baby while I waited patiently with my classmates to walk the stage. Sitting there, I reflected on the village that was required to do my master's degree. The village that had banded together all so that I could be at my convocation. The village that helped make this moment happen. Motherhood and all that goes with it is not a journey to be ventured alone. Every step of the way, help is there for you. All you have to do is ask, reach out, be relentless in your pursuit to create the juggle that you need and want for yourself and your family. Finishing my master's degree was an accomplishment that I was incredibly proud of, and I knew it would open more doors for me moving forward. After I completed my master's degree, I had a year of maternity leave followed by 6 months of extended parental leave. That same panic that I had experienced in going back to work between our first two kiddos began to creep in again. I took a position teaching an adult upgrading chemistry class 2 evenings a week. The schedule worked with our family life and prevented the need for childcare. I was trying so hard to seek out opportunities that would align with what worked best for me and my family and our family budget, especially with 3 young children. Teaching these students was fantastic, but the planning and marking were incredibly time-consuming, and it just didn't feel right for me anymore. It wasn't lighting a fire inside of me. It felt like it was draining my soul. Have you ever felt stuck in what you're doing, but with everything else going on in life, it seems impossible to think of or have the energy for another plan? I had been given a wonderful piece of advice from a dear friend that you can't be truly open to opportunities and possibilities until you shut the door and step away from what is holding you back. This step is much easier said than done, of course. Change is tough, scary, and overwhelming. That spring, I received a teaching position for the following fall and was told that if I did not take it, I would have to resign from the school board. I knew in my heart that the energy that I would need to be a classroom teacher was the same energy that I wanted to reserve for our own children. I know that there are many moms who are also teachers, but I recognize that teaching just wasn't the right path for me. Even with this realization, the reality of giving up a continuous contract and retiring from being a classroom teacher at the age of 35 was a tough decision. Also, if I wasn't going to be a teacher, what would I do? I felt lost and overwhelmed. During my master's program, my research connected me with a man who worked for Alberta Learning. He gave me an opportunity to be part of a policy proposal committee on new teacher mentorship, a passion area of mine and the focus of my master's degree major project. I had shared with him and truly anyone who would listen, including people in line at the grocery store checkout and moms who I met at my children's activities or at school drop-off and pickup, what my perfect job would be. Part-time, working some of the time from home, flexibility in my schedule, and education-based. I was all about self-advocacy, putting it out to the universe and saying it out loud instead of holding it inside of my head and heart. Truly, it can be scary to say it though, because it makes you vulnerable to judgment, to criticism, and to being told that your ideas aren't realistic, possible, or even out there. But you are worth it. I am worth it. That's what I told myself. You can have the juggle that works for you. 4 months after resigning from the school board, I got a call from this man telling me that he thought he had the perfect job for me. With some negotiating, it ended up being exactly that. Initially, the expectation was that I work out of the company's office or out of one of the 2 schools that would be piloting the curriculum I would be writing. I asked if I could work mostly from home and come into the office for meetings, and they said yes. I told them that I was available to work 20 hours a week and that most of that time would preferably be 2 days per week with the remaining hours flexed around the kids' bedtimes. And they said yes again. It was a steep learning curve, but it was the perfect mix of most time working from home and sometime getting dressed up and attending meetings downtown. It also meant that I had 3 days a week home with my kiddos to do school pickups and drop-offs for the older 2, to take trips to the park and to the zoo, and to have time to snuggle and read stories. This opportunity ended up leading to a second contract, which means that I have written 2 curriculums that are now 5-credit high school courses with our local public school board. This perfect job did require part-time childcare, which I learned is incredibly challenging to find, especially when the school year is already underway and when you have 3 children. The initial day home that I found lasted 1 day. Thankfully, our oldest, who was 7 years old at the time, recognized that something wasn't right and shared it with me. The woman running the day home had indicated that she could drive our kids to school if it was a really cold day. We would just need to provide booster seats. What we found out from our son was that although our kids were properly buckled, the lady had had one child laying in the back hatch of the car and had a 3-year-old sitting in the front passenger seat on the way to school. We refused to take our kids back there. My mom helped me out until I found an amazing day home provider who also happened to be a Red Seal chef and who provided incredible childcare, meals, and activities for our kids for 3 years. The problem with my perfect part-time job was that it was contract-based and the contract came to an end. I had felt an amazing sense of pride being a part of an incredible project where I had learned and grown so much. I had felt connected to and challenged by a fantastic group of people, and now I had to shift gears and move forward. It was tough. I felt like I was starting from square one. I took a deep breath and revisited my initial job finding strategy of putting it out to the universe. It is so important to reach out to your community, be it family, friends, or coworkers, for support, inspiration, and ideas. Yes, we get so much unsolicited advice as moms, but there is great value in asking for help, asking for input, and sharing stories. You never know what you will learn or where those conversations and connections will take you, and how you will be there in so many ways for someone else. Your community is there. The universe responded via a connection from my younger sister for a position working with young children with developmental delays, their preschool teachers, and their families. Logistically, the position was a perfect fit. I got to choose the days I worked and the hours that I worked on those days. I was able to work around our kids' school schedule, which meant that I could drop them off and pick them up from school, and I just needed 2 afternoons of childcare per week for our youngest, who was in morning kindergarten. This arrangement was a huge cost savings. I got to work with incredibly talented and caring individuals, including speech-language pathologists, occupational therapists, behavioral specialists, and physiotherapists to support children with varied challenges such as speech delays, selective mutism, and autism. I worked in this position for 1.5 years. During this time, though, I struggled with being there for the children, their families, and my team members only on a part-time basis. It just never felt like it was enough, even though I was told otherwise. I felt as though I was disappointing everyone, which started to have an impact on my energy and mood around my own family. It just wasn't working. For me, the whole point of part-time work was to be able to contribute financially to our family, but also to find work that energized me and allowed me to be present with our family in the times that I was with them. During this time, I met a mom at our youngest gymnastics class who was also a teacher and who told me that she was looking to apply to the University of Calgary for a sessional instructor position in the Workland School of Education. This was another instance of how impactful the interactions and conversations you have with people can be. This conversation reminded me of how working with student teachers had always been a dream of mine. It started when I was a struggling new teacher myself, and it inspired my master's degree Keystone project all about new teacher mentorship. I decided to apply and was beyond thrilled, literally happy dance excited, that I got a position as a sessional instructor teaching 2 lab sections of a course and as a field instructor supervising student teachers doing their practicums in schools. It was a dream come true. The position, though, would start in January. I left my current position that spring knowing that I would have a job in the new year, but also realizing that I was heading to my 20-year high school reunion that summer with no plan for the fall. I had attended and lived at this international baccalaureate school for 2 years with 200 students representing more than 80 countries, and had not seen many of them since the last day of school. I felt incredibly anxious as I knew that everyone would be asking the question, "What are you doing?" Many people from my school were involved in amazing careers with the United Nations as university professors and conducting groundbreaking research on HIV and AIDS. I decided to be honest and say that I had a new part-time position coming up, but was really still figuring things out. The amazing thing about it was that my former classmates seemed to appreciate my honesty. They were also rethinking their work-life balance. They were looking for a change or shift in what they were doing for employment, or they had recently done so. It was refreshing. My anxiety lessened, and my family and I had an amazing time with my classmates and their families at the 5-day reunion. From the outside, it can look like everyone has it together so much more than you. Quite honestly, these moms might be looking at you and thinking the exact same thing. By being real and open with one another, we foster connection and community. Motherhood is not easy. No one is perfect. We are all just trying our best. There's often more to the story than what we see on the surface. When September arrived, our youngest started grade 1. So this was my first time having all 3 of our kiddos in school all day. I struggled big time. I was so used to the juggle of preschool and kindergarten and having a little one with me on outings or baking cookies with me at home. It had been this way for 11 years. I felt as though I had lost a part of my identity. Now I was on my own for the day and without a job. It was hard to have people joke about giving me their to-do lists as I felt lost. I tried to use this time to catch up with people I hadn't seen in a while, to volunteer more than usual in our kids' classrooms, and to organize and address things in the house that had been ignored forever. It just wasn't working for me. I applied for a curriculum writing contract position with a nonprofit organization. I love curriculum writing because I meet interesting people, learn new things, and get to translate content into meaningful, engaging activities. I was able to do this work from home. It was part-time. However, I was paid a flat amount, and then I kept being asked to do a little bit more and then a little bit more. And I didn't feel like my work was valued. I finished the project, but left feeling deflated. The new year arrived. The night before my first day teaching at the University of Calgary, I couldn't sleep. There had been meetings and in-services leading up to this day, but my mind was racing, and I was questioning my qualifications for the position. What were they thinking, hiring me? However, the moment that I stood up in front of my students and got into the lesson, I knew that the job was me. It felt good. It felt right. Truly, I felt amazing. My students were fantastic. The team of instructors that I worked with valued my feedback, and I felt challenged and that I was making a difference. That night, I was placing an online grocery order and fell asleep sitting up while in the middle of my order. I was exhausted. This exhaustion highlighted the energy required to get settled into a new position. There's so much to get to know in terms of where things are, who people are, and what the processes and expectations are. The challenge of a constant ebb and flow and not having a routine is tough. For 2 fall seasons now, I have had no paid positions. However, I have been using my fall time to initiate and build a conversation about part-time work and to have other moms share their stories. I have taken a deep breath and opened myself up to possibilities, and great things have happened. They have. I've taken my idea of creating a community of moms who also connect best with part-time work, and I've turned it into a business called the Part-Time Juggle. It's all about education, empowerment, and connection of moms with each other, and ideally well-aligned part-time work opportunities. I had been looking for this throughout my part-time work journey, and when I didn't find it, I decided to create it myself. I have joined mastermind groups, I have taken business planning classes, and I'm saying yes to opportunities that scare me, but that I know will help me grow in the direction that I want and that align with what fills my soul. Putting yourself and your ideas out there is empowering, but also so hard. It's not perfect. My business is at a starting point, and I need to be forgiving and patient with myself as I grow and learn and make it what I want it to be. Sometimes I feel like I should already be at the top of the mountain rather than still trudging up a steep embankment. My part-time work adventure continues to have its ups and downs. This year, 2 of my classes no longer fit our family schedule, so I had to let them go. Also, when I'm supervising student teachers during their practicums, it gets incredibly busy and puts a strain on me and my family. However, now I know that during these times, something has to give. And this is okay. It's okay to not be able to do it all. We can't do it all. Last spring, I had someone clean our house once a week, and I took advantage of a meal delivery service. My first year in my university teaching role, not knowing what I do now, I had hair breakage, strange blisters on my arms, and ocular migraines. I wasn't willing to let go of anything, and my health and overall well-being suffered as a result. I sometimes feel that I have to explain myself and my choice to work part-time to others. I have to justify why I don't work full-time now that our kids are in school all day. Well, we have 3 kids. My husband is a school principal and has long and often inflexible hours. Our kids are involved in extracurricular activities, including hockey practices that sometimes start at 4 p.m. Conversely, I also have to justify why I don't stay home full-time so that my husband can focus on his career and I can run our household more effectively. I like to work. I like learning and challenging myself in a work environment, and I like to make money. I don't always want to be available to volunteer at the school. Have you ever felt like you have had to defend your choices? There are so many ways to be a mom. This is what works for me and my family. We each need to find what works best for us and our own families. Life is too short and time is too precious to be living the life that others think we should lead. Throughout my part-time work journey, my husband has been cheering me on in achieving my hopes and dreams. He gets that when I take care of myself and when I am happy, that I am a better mom. He knows that I'm figuring myself out and trying to carve my path, and he supports me fully. Our kiddos are stepping up to the challenge of getting themselves out the door on their own a couple of mornings a week and are seeing that their mom is constantly learning, growing, and embracing what brings her joy. You need to fill your cup. You cannot be at your best for others if you are not taking care of yourself. My village of family and friends has been beyond amazing. They remind me of the importance of accepting and asking for help and the importance of laughing until your cheeks and stomach hurt. We have traditions and rituals we look forward to and share together, and we keep it real by sharing our ups, downs, and in-betweens with one another. Connect and spend time with your village. These are the people that you can be yourself around and the ones that you can share in the adventures of motherhood with you. I'm learning to see obstacles as an opportunity, and I'm becoming more comfortable with the chaos and not having it all figured out. It's a work in progress, and I just keep reminding myself that success is a journey and not a destination. Travel through the jungle on the path that works for you and your family. Make your must-see and must-do list. Get your gear in order and maybe seek out travel experts for some take-it-or-leave-it advice. Overall, I'm enjoying the ride with all of its bumps and detours, and I know that ultimately I can have a significant impact in making my life and my family's life what works best for us. You can too. You've got this. Thank you for joining me today on the People Teaching People podcast. It means a lot to be able to look back and share a part of the journey that helped shape where I am today. And I hope it gave you a moment to reflect on your own path and the people who have been a part of it. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to send me an email or reach out on social media. And if you think someone else might find value in this conversation, please share it with them. I'll be linking to episodes in the show notes for past podcast conversations I've had with Shannon, Dina, Jillian, Sabrina, and Jill. Be sure to check them out for more insights and inspiration. Thanks for listening. Let's keep learning and growing together.